Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
Hey, it's great to hear your voice, Dr. Shealy. Andy is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. Class, if you'd like to call in and talk with Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor, we'll pay for the call. 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Dr. Shealy, you have a big fan, and her name is Sunny Skidmore. And this is Sunny Skidmore's favorite radio broadcast. She owns a radio station in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, KLID AM 1340. And she had some questions. Not only is this her favorite broadcast, but she had some questions for you, Dr. Shealy, and they are, she's about, we'll say, around 80 years old. I don't want to give her exact age, but around 80. And she said, what is Dr. Norman Shealy's opinion on freeze-dried food? What are your thoughts? Now, I guess this would be related to health.
Yeah, in general, I think they're better than any junk food. They obviously lose a little bit of some of the antioxidants and in the freeze drying, but I like them. I'm very fond of just regular dried food, like dried spinach and dried kale powder. For instance, I use a lot, but freeze dried is excellent.
Okay. And she may be even talking about long-term storage freeze-dried food, like, you know, the kinds of buckets of food that you might get for emergency rations. Is it the same feeling or different from that? For that?
No, I think they're excellent. You know, some would say they're good for 25 years. I presume that they have been checked to some extent to show that that's a possibility. But I would think once freeze-dried, they certainly have a long-term life.
Okay. And the next question Sonny had was vitamin D3. You've talked about vitamin D3, and you've talked about the vitamin K that goes with it. And she would like to hear one more time, what is that vitamin K that you take simultaneously or, you know, very close together with vitamin D3?
Okay, it's vitamin K2. Just as with D, there are several different variations on K, but K2 is the ideal one. Now, for the average healthy person, 100 micrograms a day is adequate, but 15 milligrams is better. The only contraindication to K is people who are on rat poison or warfarin. K2 is an excellent immune enhancer, as is D3. The two work together.
Okay. So to recap, K2 is an excellent immune enhancer, 100 micrograms per day with vitamin D3. And how much vitamin D3 should a person take if that person
in
takes
general,
it?
The very minimum is 5,000 units a day. But I prefer 7,000 a day. So if you take 50,000 units once a week, if you weigh over 140 pounds, that's safe. If you weigh less than 140 pounds, I say take 50,000 units on the 1st, 10th, and 20th days of the month, and that'll give you about 7,000 a day.
Okay. So someone like me, I'm just under 140. I used to be a little over 140. I mean, just a little, maybe 144, 142. And now I'm at 136. Am I okay with the 140-pound dose?
Yes.
Okay. Is there an activity component to that vitamin D3 intake? Meaning, does it matter whether you're really active or sedentary?
Well, the more sedentary you are, the more you need it. Sitting is an unhealthy attitude. Sitting is not good for your body or your mind. Now, it's okay, but anybody who sits 8 hours a day is damaging their health.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so get up, walk around, maybe maybe during those commercial breaks, when you're watching TV, get up and do a lap around the couch and get back down.
Or stand in place and bounce. Have you ever seen my YouTube of Bounce with Dr. Shealy?
Yes, Bounce with Dr. Shealy. Class, if you want to see that, just go to YouTube, type in Dr. Shealy, Shealy, and Bounce with Dr. Shealy's on YouTube, and you can see how to do that. Now, who was that with you, Dr. Shealy, in that video?
That was my daughter's mother-in-law, her husband's mother.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we talked about vitamin D3. Now, how far apart should you take, or not, how far should you not take apart D3 and vitamin K2? Simultaneously and out? Okay.
Well, ideally you take them at the same time, but as far as you get them in during the day, I think it's okay.
Okay. And that's 100 micrograms, not milligrams, micrograms.
That's minimum. Mm-hmm. And remember, if you really want to optimize your health, I would go to 15 milligrams.
Okay. So 100 micrograms minimum up to 15 milligrams, mg. Okay. Very good. All right. Next question that Sonny Skidmore had is age spots. Now, I guess that would be those brown spots. Did they used to get referred to by the name of liver spots? Is that what they are?
That's the same thing. Mm-hmm. And basically they are a deficiency of essential fats, like omega-3s.
Huh. I'm looking at my hands. I don't have any.
Good.
Now,
well, you ain't aged.
But I think I used to. Not a lot, but I can't find a single one. Now, are these when someone has these liver spots or age spots or brown spots on their hands? Are they pronounced? Are they readily visible? I mean, or do you have to really look for them?
Oh yeah, they're quite visible.
Okay. Okay, then I don't have any. All right, very good. So, deficiency in omega-3?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the recommendation to fix that, and how long does it take?
About 3,000 milligrams a day of omega-3s. And it may stop the process from getting worse, but it may not reverse it.
Okay.
Now, I've never tried. Here's an idea. If you got one or two that you want to try it on, I would rub it with a drop of emu oil every day. Emu oil is an excellent omega-3.
Okay, emu oil right on the age spots.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Let me write that down. Emu oil on the spots. And how often do we rub that on the spots?
Well, at least once a day.
1 time a day. Okay.
I'd probably do it after your shower or whatever.
Is there any relationship between having one's appendix out and age spots?
Not that we know of now. We do know that the appendix assists in producing that normal bacteria that our intestines need. So some people, when they've had an appendectomy, do have more digestive problems.
Okay. Well, Dr. Shealy, why is it then back in the 1960s, I remember people having their appendix out, and I was like, oh, you don't need that. Let's just take it out. It's like... But
that was about as stupid as saying you shouldn't eat butter.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I know that Detroit, when they manufactured automobiles, they didn't stick extra parts in there just because, it was for fun. No. And then, when guys used to work on their cars, they'd have a handful of, nuts and bolts left over. Well, that's okay. They weren't necessary. Everything will be fine without them. No, it's not. Okay. So if someone has the option of having their appendix out, I won't say for fun, but, well, you don't need it, so let's get it out of there and remove any possibility of an appendectomy later on. Let's just take it out now while everybody's healthy. Makes no sense?
I would say that is slightly beyond no sense. It's stupid.
Okay.
It's ignorance. The ignorance is ignoring fact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now,
okay. Yep.
If you have appendicitis, there's now a move towards giving people antibiotics for a month. And personally, I think it's safer to have your appendix out than take antibiotics for a month.
Okay. All right. And why is it unsafe to take antibiotics for a month? Because I know people who have been prescribed antibiotics like amoxicillin for acne. I'm talking about young people. And it's like, oh, okay, we'll fix that. We'll just take this antibiotic, amoxicillin, and we'll start with, 3 months. And if that doesn't work, 6 months. If that doesn't work, a year.
Well, it totally destroys the normal bacteria in the gut. So you're setting yourself up for all kinds of immune dysfunction.
Okay. Dr. Shealy, what about gluten? Sonny Skidmore was asking about gluten. And I guess
gluten would be fine for the majority of people if it didn't have Roundup in it. But today, 100% of all wheat grown in this country is loaded with Roundup. In fact, every food you get is loaded with Roundup because it's in the rain.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Shealy and I will be right back in just a couple minutes. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, normshealy.com. And if you'd like to sign up for the newsletter, just go to normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, I was out shopping with family in Springfield, and we were having a yogurt, one of those cold yogurts in a cup, and so there was a lull in the conversation. So our youngest son was there, and Mrs. Finelli was there, and I was there, just the three of us. And before I tell you the story, I just want to let you know that as part of this story, before I met Mrs. Finelli, when I was a very young teenager, or a mid-age teenager, I had a girlfriend who was considered to be well endowed. Okay, and so, but that didn't last. That only lasted a couple of years. So,
the well endowment. No, I'm sorry.
So here's the story. So we're having this yogurt, and my son is looking down, and I take a spoon of this yogurt, and he's looking down across from me, and my wife is right next to me. And I said to our youngest son of 25 years, and this was just a couple of weeks ago, I said, so how do you think I did? And there was a pause. Everyone was quiet because no one knew what I meant. And I wanted to just ask that open-ended question. So how do you think I did? And he looked at me and he said, with respect to what? And I said, well, with respect to picking your mother.
Sandy should have clapped you.
Well, actually, maybe not, because what he said next was unbelievable. He said, well, I would have had a higher weaning weight had you married your first girlfriend.
Well, he's got a good sense of humor, if nothing else. Oh, my.
So I just wanted to mention that, as an aside, kind of a humorous aside. But it does... he would have had a higher weaning weight. Yeah. But, so there actually is a medical reason why I told that story, and that is because, we look at cows on our farm, and they seem to have the same traits as their mamas and daddies, right? And
Yes.
and how true is that with people?
Well, in general, it's many, many aspects of our body, physically and chemically, are genetic. On the other hand, a number of our genes are, they are there, but they have to be encouraged, if you will, to come out, or they won't work, or they can be damaged. So, in other words, many of our genes are variable in whether or not they actually express themselves. But as far as the physical body itself is concerned, most such things are pretty strong. Now, I, of course, at the peak of my height was 5'11". Both my sons wanted to tower over their father since they were 5 years old, and both of them are 6 feet 2 inches tall. Now, my father-in-law, Charlotte's father, was 6 feet, and on my mother's side of the family, I have a couple of uncles who are 6 feet. So, remember, genetics are not 100% from this generation. Your genetics go back many generations.
Okay. And how about hair? I've heard, and I don't know if it's true, it is in my family, that if someone has a bald spot on their head, on their father's head, for example, they don't inherit that bald spot from their father. They get whatever their grandfather had, or one of their grandfathers.
According to Dr. Robert Elliott, a wonderful cardiologist, he says that men inherit their hair pattern from the mother's father. And I did. That is true.
And in my family, that's true, because my mother's father had a great head of hair, well into his 90s, and I believe I have his hair, and my dad had some thinning of his hair, and I don't have his. So it held true here, too. Okay, Dr. Shealy, we'll be back right after these bottom-of-the-hour commercial breaks. That's Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. Dr. Shealy, may I share a recipe that I like to make here at the farmhouse with you, and get your thoughts on whether you think this is a healthy meal or not?
Of course.
Okay. So I call this Italian beef. And what I do is I take one of those. Yeah. I take one of those round crock pots, not a large one, kind of like the rival crock pots that they had back in probably the 1980s. And so I have one of those. And I take about 2 to 3 pounds of a roast. And that can be chuck or an eye round. And I trim off all the fat that I can. And I cut it into cubes. Probably half the size of what might be considered an old-fashioned ice cube, that you get out of an ice cube tray, about that size. And then I take about 10 whole pepperoncini peppers, and I cut the stems off, and I slice them into, either diagonally cut them, cross-cut them, but I let the juice out of them, and I keep the juice in a dish that I'm using to cut the whole pepperoncinis. I take the stems off. And I put them in the crock pot. And I put in about a cup of that pepperoncini pickling juice that comes out of the jar. And then about a half a cup of water. 1 teaspoon of crushed red pepper. A 1/4 teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt. A 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And then a large onion. I prefer to use red onions if possible. And I cut the onion into, small pieces. Put it all in the crock pot, stir it up, and I fire up that crock pot on high until it starts to boil. Then I back it off to medium or low for another 3, 4, 5 hours. That's it. That's what I'm calling the Finelli's recipe for Italian beef. And it's kind of a little bit spicy. It's a little bit tangy. And it tastes great to me. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something that you would consider Healthy, unhealthy, middle of the road?
Healthy. Yeah, definitely healthy. You know, interestingly, in Back to Eden, which is my favorite herbal book, Jethro Close gives more attention to hot peppers than any other single herb. The problem with them, from my point of view, is I don't mind. I like mild. But when it gets to the like at one of those restaurants where they give you 1, 2, or 3 hot choices, I choose one always because 2 and 3 are unpleasant to my tongue. But those are individualities, and there's no question hot peppers are good for you.
Okay. Now, the problem with this is I used to have it with a roll, like a...
yes.
Okay. Now, and I'm mentioning this it all connects. There's several dots that connect. Probably a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, I was prescribed prednisone for a lung problem that I had, and I was in extreme pain. I mean, so much pain I couldn't even talk. Well, so I followed that prescription, and it made me so hungry I just couldn't believe it. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and then I'd have one of these Italian beef sandwiches, and then I'd go to sleep, and a couple hours later I'd wake up starving again. I'd have another one, and I might have 2 or 3 dinners, during the middle of the night. And then, that was in addition to the other dinners I had, when I was awake during the day, and then, the other lunches and the other breakfasts, and I was starving all the time. And so I went from like 136 or 138 pounds to 144. And I grew this pot belly, and it looked like I was 3 months pregnant, and I didn't like it at all. And so what I did was I cut out wheat, pasta, bread. I got to tell you, it absolutely positively works. Most of my stomach is gone, so I don't have that. I don't look 3 months pregnant. I look like I just might be a little bit pregnant, a week. But and I'm down to probably 136, maybe 137, somewhere in there. And I want to go a couple pounds less. And so what I'm saying, Dr. Shealy, I believe what you said is absolutely positively true, but it is difficult to get away from extruded food. I'm talking about, they take the wheat, they grind it up, and they can extrude it into all kinds of things. You can make bread with it, you can make cookies with it, crackers with it, pasta with it, noodles of all kinds. And it's so convenient because it's extruded. You can put it in all kinds of packages. You can take it with you. You can add preservatives to it. It keeps for a long time. I mean, I'm not saying all these things are good. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that that's what people do. They take these snacks with them, and they think they need to eat at their desk while they're typing in other people's information. That's the kind of jobs we have, right? So we eat extruded snacks because we're just nibbling, putting the pounds on. And it's hard to get off wheat. But once you get off wheat, it's not a big deal. But it's that threshold that you cross to get off it that's so difficult. And I've been able to cross that.
Good. Well, that takes a certain amount of willpower because these things are truly addicting. And wheat today, unfortunately, 100 years ago, wheat was great. Today, I don't eat it because it's poisoned with Roundup. I mean, I cannot, under any circumstance, recommend anything made with wheat. But you can buy rice pasta, and that's okay. And
right.
And there's a company in Colorado called Canyon Bakery, and they make wonderful gluten-free bread. Our friend Lou Cassidy will not eat any meal without 2 slices of bread. So,
I know. And
I can make you gluten-free biscuits, or I do buy 5 or 6 loaves of the Canyon Bakery and put it in the freezer to try to keep for him when he comes.
Well, Lou Cassidy has stayed here at the farm, and he brought some bread, and I think it has more mass than lead.
I agree.
He wants his bread really, really dense, and it's excellent. But and he makes his own. He grinds his own, he does like bread. But I have been able to, withdraw from it, and it's okay. I can actually walk past it, and not only can I walk past it when Mrs. Finelli and the family and I go, to the supermarket, we can go right past the bread aisle, and it's okay. You can do that. But we have been conned into thinking that we have to have bread. I know a guy.
Once upon a time, you could live off bread.
Right.
Today, you die off bread.
Very, very good point. My grandmother used to make homemade Italian bread.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely exquisite. It was, you could just have bread and butter, and you could make a meal out of it. It was that delicious. Today, I don't think so. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you can buy bread like that. And bread doesn't taste the same as my grandmother used to make.
Of course not.
But the thing is, I think she used, at one point, I'm sure she ground her own flour, but other than that, I think she bought maybe gold medal flour, just like everybody else did, and she was able to make bread that was, exquisite. But I don't think you can do it today. I think there's something, as you mentioned, it's not the same. We've got Roundup in it. We've taken shortcuts, and it's just flat out not the same. Dr. Shealy, we had a commercial several minutes ago during, I believe, the last break, and they talked about congestive heart failure. Now, my question is, what is congestive heart failure?
Well, the blood is pumped by the heart, 60 to 80 times a minute, and blood's loaded with water. When the heart gets inadequate in being able to pump the blood, you begin to accumulate water in the tissues, mainly in the legs to start with, but eventually even in the lungs. And so congestive heart failure is a failure of the heart to be able to pump itself adequately. It's a weak muscle, a very, very weak muscle of the heart.
Okay, and what is there a workaround? Is there something that a person can do?
It involves, among other things, a disturbance in an adrenal hormone called aldosterone. So, in general, if your aldosterone is off, it may, it's part of what I would call the overall stress response. You burn out the adrenal glands in many different areas. The old favorite is just as good as anything ever came upon it. It's called digitalis. And digitalis works better than most of the modern drugs that cost 10 times as much. Digitalis,
is that considered a water pill?
Yes. Well, it helps. It's not like a diuretic. In general, you think of a water pill as something that makes you urinate more. But it does help to rebalance the function of the heart muscle.
Okay. And is that something that a person, I guess that would be a prescription item, correct?
Oh, yes. You want to be careful because obviously, as with almost anything, you can overdose on it. And so it requires this, when it first occurs, is an acute illness. And that is well handled by conventional medicine.
Okay, because I remember when I was very young in the 1950s hearing that my father's brother used the word digitalis and he used the word water pill. And I remember that from the 50s, but I didn't really know what it was. Okay, well, thank you for the explanation. And we'll be right back after these few short commercial announcements. And I'd like to ask Dr. Shealy, what is new in the world of Dr. Norman Shealy when we come back? Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. So, Dr. Shealy, what is new in the world of Dr. Shealy?
Well, of course, the most important thing remains our study on narcotic addiction. We are approaching we've finished our 4th month now. In 2 more months, we're going to announce it publicly. But the results at this time were the cranial PEMF. are fantastic. We're getting people who've never felt good or can't remember ever feeling good in their life, always craving, feeling great, and having no cravings at all.
Wow. Dr. Shealy, how big of a problem do we have with drug addiction, narcotics specifically?
Well, we have one of the biggest in the world, of course, as usual. In the medical system, America is the least healthy country of all Western countries, industrialized countries, the least. Our cost of medical care is twice what it is in any other industrial company. And we're like anywhere from between 35 and 40th in our overall health. And part of that is our pharmacomafia. 25 years ago, I did a survey of all the medical boards. 49 out of the 50 discouraged the use of narcotics. Then along came OxyContin. And within 2 years, every medical board in the country is pushing narcotics. They've been bought by the pharmacomafia.
Yeah, I remember learning through the media that Rush Limbaugh was abusing narcotics, and he was looking all over, allegedly, abusing narcotics and OxyContin. So are these prescriptions that are so addictive that you want more and more and more and can't get off them?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they ruin your brain and your body.
Okay. Can you tell us the effect of these narcotics, prescription narcotics even,
right.
do to, what do they do to the brain?
Well, they destroy the part that, our cognitive and discrimination, if you will, the frontal lobes are the place where we make our intelligent decisions. And narcotics destroy the frontal. They give you a frontal lobotomy.
Wow. Okay. And I remember that Joe Kennedy had his daughter lobotomized, and it turned her into something way less than she was before she had this procedure. Do you remember that, Dr. Shealy? Joe Kennedy having?
Frontal lobotomy is, it's horrible. It's one of the worst things that ever happened in medicine. And whether it's done with a knife or a suction or a drug, it's still a frontal lobotomy.
Okay. And what does it do to your digestive system, these narcotics?
Well, they interfere, of course, with everything that affects your digestive system involves the bacteria in your intestines. So it damages the normal digestive process. It causes constipation more than anything.
Mm-hmm. And what is the fix for that? If someone is, let's say someone absolutely positively has to be on it, or they really believe they have to be on OxyContin or something like that, is there something that they should do to keep their bowels somewhat normal?
Drink prune juice, I guess. Or grape juice. Grape juice actually does work well. But still, in my opinion, unless you are dying of cancer, there is never, underline, put it in capitals, bold, never an indication for the use of narcotics more than 6 weeks.
Okay. More than 6 weeks. Okay. And when we come back after top of the hour news, I've got a couple things on my list. One is eating fish required for good health, removing skin tabs with tea tree oil, avoiding diseases when traveling on airlines. What is a good blood pressure for a 65-year-old or early 30-year-old? And ultraviolet lamps, installing them in our heating and air conditioning ductwork to kill bacteria. So those are a few of the things that I've got on my list. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, normshealy.com. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, I was looking at the news, and I happened to be at dailymail.co.uk for the United Kingdom. And there is this large article. Let me just read the headlines. Televangelist Jim Baker Yes, okay. Let's see. All right, we'll take Blake in Missouri in just a minute, if that's okay. So the headlines say, televangelist Jim Bakker is now hawking a silver gel he claims can cure all venereal diseases for $25 per bottle. Goes on to say, televangelist. I know this guy. I know Jim Bakker. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. Televangelist, author, and convicted felon Jim Bakker has a new product for sale. This time it's a silver gel that, quote, cures all venereal diseases, end quote, and he calls it a miracle. The ranges of $25 for 4 ounces of the gel version to $40 for one 16-ounce bottle of the liquid version, and $175 and $250 for a case of each if you want them. And it says the full ingredients of the product are not known, but it's said to contain silver. And in February, Bakker, that'd be Jim Bakker, televangelist, came out with a fuel-less generator, doomsday guidebooks, and buckets of food that he promised would last 30 days. Bakker is now hosting a new series called The Jim Bakker Show with his current wife, Lori Bakker, from the Ozark Mountains in Missouri. So he claims that he's got a cure for all venereal diseases with this silver gel. Dr. Shealy, do you have any comments on that?
Well, he was a crook before, and he's a bigger crook now. So I wouldn't trust him to tell me the time of day.
Yeah, I met him. He came to 2 of our expos. And class, if you want proof of that, all you do is you go to your favorite search engine and you type in get space prepared space expo and click on the images tab, and you will see an image of a guy wearing a black hat and a black shirt. Okay, and he's got a white beard, and he's leaning over, talking to a guy at a booth at our Get Prepared Expo, and that is Jim Bakker. So he came to look and look and look, and I had no idea why he was there. Actually, there's another picture of Jim Bakker's wife. She's kind of a blonde gal with a red top on. You'll see her there as well. And so that's under images if you do a search on Get Prepared Expo. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, he came to the expo. I didn't know why, but I figured it out later. He wanted to get into the business of selling things, and he's selling them on his television show. And that's the Jim Bakker Show. He also is selling, I looked at some of the things that he's selling. And if you go to the Jim Bakker Show website, which is jimbakkershow.com, and you click on the items for sale, you will see that he sells something, and this really bothers me. He calls it a fuel-less generator. Fuel, F-U-E-L-L-E-S-S, meaning no fuel. So he's got a fuel-less generator. Now, really what it is, it's a solar panel. I'm going to read you the package, everything that's in the package. He calls it, you'll receive one expandable fuel-less generator, one lithium-ion expansion battery, one 100-watt solar panel. That's a 100-watt solar panel, which is small. Okay, one 25-foot solar panel extension cord, one hand crank, one foldable hand carton dolly. Okay, and you get the instruction manual, $2,589. I believe I could build something like that for 1/10 the price. When I say build it, I mean just go out shopping. So be very...
With a crook, you expect to be taken.
Yes. And so what I'm telling our class is keep in mind that if he's selling what I would call a portable solar power system for 100 watts, which is very small. Very small. You can't do much with 100 watts. You can't, if you aim this at the sun, it's a beautiful, bright sunny day, and you've got this thing aimed at the sun. You might get 5, 6, 7 hours of sun. You're looking at 100 watts for the solar panel. Then you take in the losses of charging the battery. You take in the charging of the cable losses. You take in the inverter losses. By the time you're done, you probably have 80 watts. Okay? So 80 watts times 5 hours, 400 watts for 1 hour. Not very much. So maybe you can watch TV for 2.5 hours. Maybe. That's it. If you have a TV that doesn't use much electricity. Okay, let's see. I'm going into the stack so we can take our phone call. Page is loading up. I'm going to log in, and I'm logging in right now, and I see Mike in Missouri. Mike, welcome. You're on with Dr. Norman Shealy.
Oh, good morning, Dr. Shealy. How are you?
Hey, Mike.
I'm wonderful. What's up?
Well, I've got a question for you. I am a 62-year-old man, and I've got a hiatal hernia, they say a small one, and it causes me some difficulty sometimes depending on what I eat. Well, a few years ago, they found some blocked arteries in my heart, and they put some stents in there 4 years ago. Haven't had any issues since. But they have me on baby aspirin, and that baby aspirin just tears my stomach up. And I was wondering if there's an alternate, something that I could take, or if I even need that aspirin after 4 years.
Well, if you're having that kind of reaction, I would say definitely do not take it. Now, it might be better if you took about 4 milligrams of copper with it. Copper protects the stomach lining. Before your FDA banned it, copper aspirinate was available, over the counter, and it was actually cured peptic ulcers. But of course, it worked so well that FDA banned it.
Okay, copper aspirinate. Okay.
If you could find it, but I haven't been able to even to find it for my patients now.
Well, after 4 years, do you think I still need an aspirin?
No. Now, of course, they're doing that to protect your heart. It does help prevent blood clotting, but and you've had stents, so you could take nattokinase. It's an herbal thing over the counter that works just as well to prevent clotting.
How do you spell that?
Or you try to reverse the calcification by getting chelation.
Okay. How do you spell that?
Chelation.
Tion. Oh, okay. Dhalation. Okay. Okay, I'd like to find something because once that irritates my stomach, man, the pain goes everywhere from that hiatal hernia. It gets inflamed, I guess. But they tell me there's nothing I can do about it. And I wanted to find some alternate something to try to
Well, there are,
stop that.
of course, body workers who can actually show you how to reduce the hiatal hernia physically.
Oh, yeah?
There's several people who know how to, reach up under the sternum and pull the stomach down and do that a couple times a day can often take care of it.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. I know it just causes me a lot of grief and a lot of problems the day I take that aspirin. Or if I eat, high-fiber beans or something like that, then I have some issues. But if I eat a pretty normal diet and not so much, I don't have too much. But that aspirin, oh, boy, after 4 years of that, I don't know if I've got any stomach left.
Well, I would certainly try to get off the aspirin, and, obviously, it's just not good for you. But you want to protect your heart.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Dhalation and copper aspirinate.
Yes.
Might help. Okay. Well,
Mike,
I really appreciate your time.
Mike, let me spell that for you.
Okay.
Copper aspirinate is spelled copper, C-O-P-P-E-R. Next word, A-S-P-I-R-I-N-A-T-E, like aspirin with the word ate, A-T-E on the end. And Dr. Shealy, it's from what I understand, it's it's an aspirin chelate of copper.
Exactly.
And it's been used in the past to treat rheumatoid arthritis.
Exactly. Excellent. But of course, the FDA prefers poison.
All right. Is there a way that we can find it, or have you been unable to find it?
I've been unable to find it. I've been called compounding pharmacists. They claim they can't even make it for me anymore.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
I'm wondering, can we make it ourselves?
I don't know how. I wouldn't try to make that for myself.
Okay. Well, I just found.
But Jim Baker can probably do it.
Okay. Mike.
Yes, sir?
I haven't been to this website, but what I did, if you want to do further research, so I don't know if this is true or not true. I don't know if it's viable. I don't know if it's dangerous. I don't know. But I typed in copper space aspirinate, ASPIRINATE, and I came up with a result in Wikipedia, and I also came up with videos, and it says preparation of copper aspirinate on YouTube. So maybe you can find out a little bit more about it on YouTube. But of course, there's some risks in doing any of these things, so be very, very careful. Thank you for your call. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, and I was looking up sexually transmitted diseases and what STD, or sexually transmitted disease, is permanent. And it says that herpes and HIV are the only two viral sexually STIs which are always chronic. Now, how is it that Jim Baker is able to claim that the silver products that he has, and you can get a starter kit, 2 liquids and 2 gels, and a couple bonus items, whatever that might be, for a donation, let me say it a different way, donation of $100. He claims it gets rid of all venereal diseases. So, Dr. Shealy, for those who are thinking that this might be a miracle, is it possible that it gets rid of all venereal diseases?
No. Highly unlikely.
Okay. All right. So, class, there you have Dr. Norman Shealy's thoughts on Jim Baker's miracle cure. Now, Jim Baker is not a medical doctor. He's I guess he's best known for being a felon, right? Selling things he doesn't have in Blue Eye, Missouri. I think that's where he hails from. So he's been to the expo, the Get Prepared Expo. I met him, and he came there, and he didn't say what he was going to do, but what he did do is start his preparedness business right around that time on television, selling things to people on television. So that's what he does. He's a convicted felon, and he has a television show, and he sells preparedness items. And my advice is, before you buy anything, whether it's from him or somebody else in the preparedness arena, please verify that what you're going to buy or might buy or consider buying actually will do what it's being touted to do and what you believe it will do. And tomorrow, we're going to have Craig Douglas come on. And Craig Douglas has been to our Get Prepared Expo, all of them, I believe. And he stayed at the farm. I know him quite well. And he's going to do a special report on what he has seen at preparedness expos, because he goes to them across the country. So I'm going to ask him questions like, what do you see? What do people want? What are they saying? And what is the climate of preparedness expos? Okay, so that's coming up tomorrow, right here on USA Prepares. Dr. Shealy, any comments about anything I've said, or do you want to go on to the next topic?
I'm ready to go on.
Okay. I am very concerned about the heating system and the air conditioning system that we have in our farmhouse. Not because of anything that I've noticed per se, not because it was designed improperly, but because it's dark in the ductwork, and I want to kill any pathogens that might be lurking around in the dark there. So I bought an ultraviolet lamp system, and I'm going to install that within the next few days into our heating system and ductwork, if you will. So if you think about it, class, if you have an air conditioning coil in your ductwork, that coil gets really cold, and it condenses moisture. And if anything goes wrong, or if you have insulation inside the ductwork, you might have some dampness in there, which might be a great breeding ground for bacteria and mold and who knows what. So I want to put in some ultraviolet lights. They're 13-watt PL style, which is the Philips lamp style, 13 watters. And I'm not going to install them the way that the company that manufactures this says. I'm going to install them differently. I'm going to install them so that I have multiple lamps in multiple locations rather than all the lamps in one location. And I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do it, but that is my plan. So I'm going to go down and look at the ductwork and look at it and have a sleep on it, as maybe Gwyneth Isaacs would say. And I do my best thinking sometimes on those things at night, because that's when I'm asleep, because that's when these thoughts come to me as a better way of doing things. But my question for Dr. Shealy is, what do you think about ultraviolet lamps in the heating system to kill the pathogens in the air as they fly by? So, class, I mentioned that I'm going to put ultraviolet lamps, 13 watts each, probably 2 of them, in our heating ductwork, because there's some moisture that occurs with the, it's called an A, the letter A, coil, the evaporator coil inside the ductwork, which actually does the cooling of the air that goes through the air handler. And I want to disinfect that, if you will, with ultraviolet lights. So, Dr. Shealy, what are your thoughts about doing that? Am I wasting my time, or do you think that...
No, excellent. Actually, at Duke University, way back in the 50s, when I was in medical school, in the operating rooms, they had ultraviolet lights in the operating rooms in order to help sterilize the air.
Okay. And, class, if you're wondering what we're talking about, it's kind of this bluish, eerie bluish light. And sometimes you see them, these lights, hanging on a fixture on the wall in a restaurant. And it's to disinfect the air, as Dr. Shealy was saying. Now, you do not want to look at ultraviolet light. You can damage your eyes. Okay, so if you see this bluish, purplish, violet light, do not look at it. But so what I want to do is put that in the ductwork, and it doesn't last forever. The bulbs seem to last about 8,000 hours. 8,000 hours would be, if it's on 24 hours a day, about 1 year. So that's how long they last.
We have an ultraviolet light on our well. That is, the water as it comes out of the ground is run through ultraviolet to sterilize it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I also bought one of those, which I have to make some major plumbing changes in our utility room, if you will, where we have our plumbing and the well pressure tank and the controls for the well and all that. So I've got to do a lot of plumbing changes. I'm going to do them all at once, and I have a unit for that as well. So, class, if you decide you're going to do what Dr. Shealy has done, which is put ultraviolet light disinfection for his well water system to kill biologicals, the way to do that, you do that, but you have to change that bulb about once a year. So you might want to get spare ultraviolet light bulbs. And unfortunately, I don't know of a single source that is in the United States in terms of manufacturing source. So you're looking at probably getting them from China. And I guess that's okay, but they're the only guys that seem to make them. Next question, Dr. Shealy. Athlete's foot. What is athlete's foot, and is there a way to treat it?
Well, it is part of the fungus amongus family. Mm-hmm. And the simplest thing is Nixol. Spray Nixol on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nixall. And Nixol is analyte water. It's close to chlorine, isn't it, Dr. Shealy?
Yes, it's just weaker and safer than using bleach.
Mm-hmm. What happens if a person were to inhale Nixol, Dr. Shealy? Are there concerns?
Well, I wouldn't do it. I think it would probably cause some sneezing or irritation, but I don't think it'd be bad compared to bleach.
All right. Now, I know there was a culture in Virginia among black people, and I'm only saying this because it's something that I learned from my black friends in Virginia when we lived there. And what they would do is they would, if one of their children was taking a bath, not a shower, but a bath, they put a couple drops of chlorine bleach in the bath water because they thought that there were health benefits for that. Is there such a thing, Dr. Shealy, or is this an old wives' tale that's not true?
Well, I don't think it's necessary if you use soap, but that's just not me.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's because the wells that we had in Virginia, all of us, some people had shallow wells, some people had a little bit deeper wells, but the wells were not chlorinated. And I'm wondering if they knew that the water had toxins in it, biological toxins, that were unsafe, and that they figured, I'll just nip this in the bud and add a few drops of chlorine to the bath water, and we'll kill them before they have a chance to do damage to our children.
Yeah, well, let's face it. Water in cities generally is chlorinated, and therefore should not have bacteria or viruses in it. Mm-hmm. When it comes out of the well, you have to be careful.
Okay. Next question. Tea tree oil. Tea tree oil. 3 words. Tea, T-E-A, T-R-E-E, and then oil. I was reading that tea tree oil can be used to remove skin tabs or skin tangs. And these are these little hanging down little bits of skin, like micro earlobes, if you will. They kind of hang off the body, and they don't seem, if you squeeze them, they don't seem to hurt. I was talking to a dermatologist, and he says, we just cut them off. And I would think that might hurt, but he said, no, it doesn't hurt at all. Well, so a dermatologist may cut them off. I thought, boy, it'd be a lot more pleasant to have them frozen off rather than cut off. But the most pleasant, I think, was another way, which was put a piece of dental floss, clean dental floss, around the base of a skin tab, tighten it up, tie a knot, and, strangle it, if you will, layman's terms. And then the third would be one of these compounds that kills the tissue, like tea tree oil. Dr. Shealy, what are your thoughts on removing skin tabs, tea tree oil, and dental floss?
If you do the dental floss thing, I would put some triple antibiotic ointment on until it heals.
Okay.
Because that does, cause damage the local skin and has to heal. Now, tea tree oil, I don't know about it for killing a skin tab, but I do know that it is actually good for athlete's foot as well. It does help kill fungus.
Okay. And when you buy tea tree oil, if it's full strength, do you cut it with another kind of oil? So, for example, I have 100% pure, unadulterated tea tree oil. Do we cut it with something else?
No, to put it on athlete's foot, I would use it direct.
Okay. And do you sell tea tree oil, Dr. Shealy?
We don't sell it, although I have bought it on the internet.
Okay. What are your thoughts about frankincense?
Well, it's another wonderful, oil that is used on the skin and is thousands of years old. And I don't remember which one, but it's at least one of my blessed oils is one of the components.
Okay. All right. So you're a proponent of frankincense as well?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Lots of
How about
medicinal oils are good. Lavender, rose, you know.
okay? How about peppermint?
Peppermint is good. Actually, its best use is for indigestion. A couple of drops in a glass of water.
Okay. All right. And next question is, I was looking at a vehicle for our farm. It was a Jeep, and it's an old Jeep, and it has the windshield on this Jeep is straight glass. It's not curved. It's like a Jeep CJ or a Jeep Wrangler type of a Jeep, just a straight piece of glass, flat piece of glass. And this particular Jeep had a crack in the windshield where the passenger would sit, and it almost looked like there might have been an impact with someone's head on this windshield.
Wow.
And it cracked it from top to bottom. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about when a person has an injury, like they slam their head into the windshield, not wearing a seatbelt maybe, or if a person is in an accident. I've seen plenty of accidents where the windshield is cracked or smashed, and there's a bulge in it where someone's head hit it, and the person really must have had a massive injury. And let's say the person gets out of the vehicle and says, kind of dusts himself or herself off and says, "Wow, that sure hurt." Later on, is there a possibility that a person who experienced that could have lifelong problems as a result of banging their head that hard?
Oh, yeah. Concussion you don't have to be totally unconscious to have brain damage from a head injury. And so any head injury is potentially bad and long-standing.
Oh, okay. So it is like if a person, well, football, right? I mean, the guys that play football are really exposing themselves to a lot of potential brain injuries, right?
Yeah. I
mean,
think football should be banned. Personally, yeah. I think it's a dangerous sport. And, there's no point in doing something that's physically active that endangers your spinal cord and your brain. Not to mention your knees.
Now, is there potentially more damage from, let's say, you're sitting in a vehicle and you are slammed against the side window, meaning let's say the driver's side window with the left side of your head. Is that more potentially damaging than hitting the windshield with the top of your head, or is there a part of your head which is really susceptible to causing brain injury if you hit it hard enough? Is there one spot that's
any part of the skull is bad?
Okay. All right, Dr. Shealy, and I'll be right back after these few short commercial announcements. Dr. Shealy, what's the best contact number for us to call to get an appointment with you in your clinic in Springfield, Missouri?
417-351-5221.
Class, if you'd like to call during normal business hours, 417-351-5221. Repeat, 417-351-5221. Dr. Shealy, I'm 65, as you know, and I have a reasonably good body mass index. What would be a good blood pressure for me? Or do you want me to tell you what mine is, and you can tell me if it's okay?
Pressure, an extra pressure is 120/80, but I don't worry about 130/80 or 85.
Okay. Mine, two numbers, most recent numbers would be yesterday and today, 117/72, 104/67. Do I need to be worried?
No, you need to be happy.
Okay. How about, I was talking with Andy, our engineer today, and I asked him if he had any medical questions. And I said I was going to ask Dr. Shealy about blood pressure for a 65-year-old. He said, well, how about a 30-year-old, someone around 30 years old? What would be a good blood pressure for someone at around 30?
Well, again, 120/80 is sort of the standard formation for health at delineate, but we don't worry about it till it gets, up above 140 towards 150 over 90.
Okay. So when it gets to be over 90, bottom number, that's when we need to be worried?
Yeah, that can lead to stroke or heart attack.
Okay. And here's something that I found, and I'd love to hear your comments. I found that if I drink more water, my blood pressure is lower than if I drink less water.
That is true, in general.
Okay.
You need to drink approximately 8 glasses a day, 8-ounce glasses a day. A bit more won't harm you, but a lot less will.
Okay. And when I said water, Dr. Shealy, for our class's benefit, I meant water. I didn't mean... Yeah, I want to make sure our class knows that I'm not talking about Coke, Pepsi, orange soda. I'm talking about water. And we have filtered water here at the farm. We particularly like ProPure. That's not a commercial. It's just that's what we like. And there are other water filtration systems that are good as well. But so we're talking about filtered water. Dr. Shealy, a number of people fly on airplanes. And I would think that is it's like a recipe to get sick, isn't it?
Well, it carries all kinds of risks, from blood clots in your legs to infection. But, I have traveled approximately 2 million miles by air, and I've never gotten sick on a plane.
Okay, and that was my next question. So what do we do? Is it the recommendation of D3K2? Astaxanthin, is that the recipe for avoiding getting sick for those of us who have to travel?
That is a foundation for everybody.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah. Exercise, physical activity.
Okay. And I know for a fact our daughter was flying and her flight was canceled 5 different times yesterday. She had a meeting to go to. They lost her luggage. She arrived at her destination way, way, way late. Her boss, flying the same airlines but a different flight, his flight was canceled. This is American Airlines that I'm talking about. Absolutely miserable. And so she's arrived without her luggage. She has to go to a meeting, and so she had to buy new clothes and for her meeting. And they have requirements of what you have to wear. So the stress was unbelievable for her, not knowing if she's going to be able to show up. So add that to all the diseases that you're surrounded by on that aluminum tube with wings, right? Miserable.
No question about it. Airlines are very, very difficult to deal with. You just have to detach.
Yep. Recommendation classes, if you want to get even, use a dispute the payment on your credit card. Look into it before you follow anything you hear here, but you can dispute it and maybe get your money back, seriously, with your credit card company. Dr. Shealy, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, have a good one.
You too. Above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.